So, welcome to part 2. You've made it this far. But before we continue with my standard exposition, I want to show you something. Alright, so here we are at the YouTube page that started it all. In the player in YouTube, there are settings. Inside the settings, you will find playback speed, and you will find that you can slow things down to a quarter of their normal speed. And it retains most of the audio if it's a decent clip. So I actually used this today to figure out, or at least assist in figuring out, something that I had forgotten, which was a bit of the, some of the faster bits. But I thought I'd just go ahead and show you that you can do this too. And so if there's a clip of a guitarist that's playing something that you want to figure out, once you get the sound in your ears, you can see what they're doing and see how you might be able to, pull it off yourself. So if you wanted to go ahead and use today's video, because we do stop at a certain point and jump ahead and see if you can do some of the stuff that I'm doing, you go right ahead. But we will cover it in the third video anyway. All right, let's get back to Kirk. And we're back. So I hope you've got a nice hot cup of cocoa, or whatever it is that is your beverage of choice. Mine is seasoned a little bit with cayenne pepper because I like it spicy. And let's continue. So, Uli Roth. Uli, of course, was in a band called Dawn Road. He went from Dawn Road and joined the Scorpions. Michael Schenker himself, as he was quitting the band, picked him as his replacement. Michael and Rudolf Schenker, of course, founded the Scorpions as brothers. And they don't get along anymore, by the way. After Dawn Road, like I said, he joined the Scorpions. And he stayed with the Scorpions until just after the Tokyo tapes, where he decided to go solo. Of course, the Scorpions made it big in the States after that. They had already been big in Europe and Japan. But they made it in the States, which really solidified them as awesome, with their other and new guitarist, Matthias Jabs. Or Jabs? I think it's Jabs. My old guitar instructor, Tom Queen, told me it was Jabs, so it probably was. So I first heard of Uli Roth in approximately 1985. And I'm just going to tell you the short story. If you want to skip forward a couple of minutes, you go right ahead. But I got the Circus magazine with like the top 50 guitarists of all time in it. And you know how things are. People have typically short memories. But I saw listed, I think it was at number 17, maybe it was number 10, this cat named Uli Roth. And I'm like, well, who the heck is this hippy-dippy guy holding this weird guitar with all these frets? And I was like 15, 16 at the time, probably about 15. And my guitar instructor, Tom Queen, wanted to see it. Tom is probably still to this day the best guitarist I've ever met. He's just hands down. His pores ooze music. He is everything music. I mean, you say, hey, have you heard this song? He's like Paul Gilbert, hey, have you heard this song? And he can just play it for you. The guy's ridiculous. And then he'll put it in like 3-part harmony. It's just, he's so good. So I was blessed and lucky for a year of my life, early playing. He was my second teacher, to have him as a teacher. And he really got my technique boosted quite a bit. But so he wanted to see this, and I asked him, who the heck is this Uli Roth guy? And he's like, Uli, he's pretty mean guitar player. Scorpions, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the look just turned me off. I was an 80s baby, Motley Crue and, all that kind of stuff. And I was into, Metallica, thrash, and all this. And the hippie scene was really outside of my scope of, nope, thrash. So, shred, thrash. So I never heard the guy. Fast forward to 1990, and that was 1990, maybe 1989, probably 1990, maybe. Fast forward to 1994. I went to a music store in Tacoma. I saw his Beyond the Astral Skies, and after hearing Used, like I said, after hearing like Jason Becker and Marty Friedman, rave about this guy, and even reading that Eddie Van Halen hailed him, and is like, oh, that guy's untouchable. And even though he was more of a Clapton guy, you never really heard Uli Roth anything, and Van Halen's playing except for maybe his vibrato. I have a cat yelling at me out there. Anyway, and that's Rumbles. He's our old boy. He's kind of deaf, so he's very loud. Anyway, so there's Yeah, all right, getting back to it. So, Vi emulated him. I didn't know it at the time, but he got a 29 fret guitar to play the Crossroads number, play the high A note on that, and which I can teach you, by the way. I've already got a lot of that recorded for a friend of mine. But so let me know if you're interested. I'll just send you the links to those too. Those are also unlisted. But the deal was, he was behind a lot of these guys. Yngwie wouldn't sound like Yngwie if the song Earthquake didn't exist. So, and so forth. Long story. Sorry, got sidetracked. In fact, I got backtracked. Here's the point. I wasn't ready for his music. When I listened to it, I was like, I don't like this. But I heard the lead on The Night the Master Comes, and I thought, this is okay. Now I know where Marty got his style. And it's really neat to be able to make those kind of connections. If you hear an influence of your influence, and then you hear your influence's style in that influence of his or hers, then, aha, there's music history there. You've got some ties. You know where they picked up their style, or you know where they picked up some of the stuff. You know what they used to listen to. And I think that's one of my favorite hobbies nowadays is listening to a guitarist and trying to figure out who their influences were. Because, there's so many, but, there's a lot of them that are like, all right, he listened to Petrucci. All right, who did Petrucci listen to? He listened to, the Steves and the Owls, Steve Morse, Steve Vai, Alan Holdsworth, Al Di Meola. So that's Petrucci's main influences. And, of course, Alex Lifeson, he's an owl. So there you go. So if you listen to those guys and then you listen to Petrucci, you can see, this is where he got a lot of his style, especially the Steve Morse stuff with the speed. But, it was a great thing. So I immediately heard where a lot of my influences were getting their influence, so to speak. But I wasn't ready for it. So I was like, this is crazy hippy-dippy space baby stuff, and I just can't listen to it. And I set it down. Fast forward several years, and my wife and I are expecting our first, and only, one and done. We were expecting our first, and I get laid off from my job 3 months before she was due. And I was like, whoa, I got to go look for another job. So I was in the mood for some different music. I was kind of course I'm into death metal and black metal and all that kind of crap. But, I wanted something different. So I'm like, Uli, I'm going to give him another chance. And so while I was driving around looking for work, and I got another job within a week, but when I was driving around looking for work, I popped the thing in, and I must have been ready for it at the time. I was almost 26, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So 10 years after I first heard of the guy, 5 years or so after I first heard the guy, 5 years after I first heard the guy, I'm now ready to actually, listen to him and absorb it. And I just became he became my biggest influence. I absolutely adore Uli's playing. So another thing about me, generally, and then we'll actually get to it, is that I, for years, never learned anything from anybody else. I thought, and I had this crazy notion that it takes away the magic. Like, if I learned this song, let's say from Uli, or just anybody, pick a song that I'm really into, and I'm like, yes, this song is great, and it gives me, chills every time I hear it. I thought that if I learned it, that somehow the magic would die. And it's not true. It just isn't true. But I didn't know that. And for like 20 years, I was writing my own stuff, here and there a little bit. And then that just kind of fell away, and I started building guitars instead. And so most of my videos that you see are using guitars that I've built, unless it obviously says something like Washburn or Schecter. But most of the rest of them are just ones that I made. And or this Yamaha behind me here. So of course I didn't make that, but I did modify it. That pick guard with the pickups, I did all that myself. So anyway, and I don't think I own one guitar that I haven't at least modified. Fun. That's a good hobby to get into, by the way. It really keeps you busy. So I still played, but I played the stuff that I learned back when I was a kid. Old Metallica, Megadeth, stuff like that. And so I kept my chops in shape. I still, wrote stuff here and there, but I mainly just kind of concentrated on, I'm going to build guitars. I enjoy that. It's a good hobby. So I got an injury. I had acquired an at-work injury. I got some sodium hydroxide in this eye, which is why it's a little droopy. Almost lost it. Got some surgery, and that's where the droop comes in. But still, I needed something to do at that time. And so you'll notice that on my YouTube channel, it goes back to I think it was June or July of 2020 is when my covers started. And I needed something to do, and they said I couldn't do anything, but they never said that one of the things that I couldn't do was play guitar. And I'm not going to stop doing that anyway. If I'm breathing, I'm playing. It's just one of those things. So, I love the thing. So I started putting out videos. Well, in order to do that, I had to figure the songs out. Now, I had already started doing ear training for that kind of stuff several years back. I had to one of the things that I didn't wind up committing to too terribly much was a cover band of 90s cover tunes. And we did a few like Joe Satriani numbers, but most of it was just pop radio. But they had a set list that was 400 in length. They had 400 songs, and I learned them all in a month. You cannot just do that with tabs. You've got to get your ear in shape for it. And so that's what really started it. Then I learned the Arcturus solo for Fall of Man around 2015 in the same way. So, but the more you grow into the instrument, the more your ear is developed, the more you sing along with the things that you're playing or hum a melody in your head and try to figure out what it is, the better your ear is going to get. But I had tabs. Dude, those things can be wrong so often. They're more poison, they're more harm than good. I really strongly suggest that even though they're a tool and you can use them, and guys like Ben Eller or Guthrie Govan or guys like that will go ahead and say, oh yes, if there's a tab, find it, use it. I've got to say, you need to eschew the tabs. You should as strongly as I could possibly recommend, because it's a musical thing. And I got a thing about that too. If you look at one of the there was a video with frequently requested tabs. I'm like, I don't use them. And here's why. But I'll give you the short end of it. And I mean the short end because I've talked long enough. Tabs are problematic in the sense that not only are they wrong, they can mislead the guitarist. They can make, if they're very poorly written or just flat out wrong and the ear isn't well developed yet, the guitarist is not going to be able to really get a handle on the music that they want to play very well. Some parts that might be relatively easy to do might be written in a way where it seems almost impossible, and it'll send them off on tangents and stuff like this. But music is a language. And yes, that's a kind of a written form of it, sure, and I understand that, but how do we use language? We use it to communicate. We talk. We play guitar. We emote through it. We give our ideas out in an audible form. To get the ideas that way from a written form, it's like reading about how to swim and then trying to swim. It's not the same. It's really academic. It's cold. It's and a lot of it's wrong. It's like if the book you have on swimming, for instance, tells you always want the right arm overhead, and it doesn't actually tell you to put it back down because it forgets to or something like that, you're just swimming like this, and you're going to be going in circles. It's I can't tell you enough how much I think tabs are actually bad for you. Hello. He actually says hello. He's an impressive cat. All right. So let's get on with the show, and I'm sorry about all this exposition. I will put in a marker to say, go here if you don't want to hear me yap at you. But let's continue where we left off and get to it. Okay, so we're going to pick up right where we left off, and I'm going to correct myself with a little bit of a mistake that I made because I literally forgot how this went. And I'm still kind of remembering as we go, but I have the basics down somewhat. But again, it's a stretch of the memory, and I've only been practicing for a couple of days as opposed to the last one, which was like 8 hours a day for, 2 days straight or 4 days straight or whatever it was, trying to figure it out. So here we go. We are... So from here, this is the 19th fret. We're going to bend up almost to a D, but not quite. And that's to the 17th, to the 18th fret on the B string there. Now you could bend there, or you could bend from down here. Either way, you are still starting pretty much from that G note. So, and that's basically outlining a G major arpeggio there. So that's up to you. That's from the 17th fret to the 15th fret, like that. So one more time. And that's but bending. And of course with that extra wide vibrato. So from there, we're bending from A to B down to, that's F sharp, or I'm sorry, 22 to 24 to 19. Down like that. Now you could do, legitimately, it's okay, but it really, to my ears, it's, and there's a little harmonic with that. Right around there. So, all in all, it's... That's from F sharp to G, back to F sharp again. Okay, so now the faster stuff comes in. And it's not as difficult as you think, or as you might think, but it is where we start changing keys. In this case, we're modulating from a nice shape that fits nicely in the G major to like an F major. I may have called that A minor, but since we're only using this, that works out fine, but we're really changing this shape from here, and we're going up a minor third, and then going to go to, which is a lovely transition, which is E major. Almost like going from here, and we are effectively doing that. We'll get there in a second. So, but we have to do a couple of more interesting modulations first. So, is it here? Yeah. You'll see. So, from there, from the... Really? So, that is... This is all 14, 16, or A, B, C sharp, D, and E. So, 14, 15, 17. So, okay? That same shape, 3 frets higher. So... Now the real fun begins, because the fast lick, the we'll get to that. So this from that note, bend up a half step slowly. So shift back quickly. There. That's literally what he plays. So, how does that? So that this you are going to use 4 fingers. It's 4 notes per fret here, so it's 4 notes per string. D, E, F, and G. And this shape here is a minor triad, so you have G, B flat, or in this case A sharp, and or it could be B flat, depending on where we're really going, but and D. So this is basically a D minor arpeggio shape. But with these 2 notes in between. So, again, Now we're in E major. So, which is, and it's a bend too, which you can actually kind of get away with doing. And this is where we're stopping, by the way, with doing with wah. Wow. But you should bend it from the fret below it. So this is 16. Basically, we're outlining an E major chord. I guess I'll keep going. I guess I'll go back a little bit so that here. Same shape. Now just move it up 2 frets. I forgot to say that part. There. Sorry. So really, and I literally do it that way. The next step is, and I bend down for that. You can bend up. But the reason why I bend towards the floor as opposed to up is because the next note, I don't want to mess that part up. So if I went this way, it would put my fingers outside of a place where I could strategically use them to do the next lick. So I go this way, and I grab it, and my fingers are still in a good position to do this, which is outlining. This is the same note, you know. So that's 14, 13, 16, E major, triad. Continuing, you're adding an F sharp there, so basically turning that into a 9. Holding that up to the A note here. So going outside the key chromatically like we were doing before. This is from E to F sharp. Still in, this is a major pentatonic here. So, and if you can manage it, there's a little harmonic right there. You have to find it, but going chromatic on tomorrow's episode of finally finishing this thing off. Also, I want you to prepare the very last crazy lick that he does, that ain't easy. To be continued on tomorrow's episode where we go chromatic crazy. And it's, if you can do it and pull it off, it's a joy to play. Your fingertips are going to hate you though. Word to the wise. Until tomorrow, see you around.